And so I took that on. And so what I did is I reinvented it a little bit. And so reinventing it, what I did was I called and asked people would they be willing to lend their lawnmower service? Would they be willing to lend their time with the DJ and the equipment? And would they be willing to lend their time with bounce houses?
Okay.
And so when I figured that people would do that and they were willing to come with us, and so what I did was I got a list from the MDOC, the block clubs that they were.
Now, what's MDOC?
The Michigan Department of Corrections.
Okay.
And so the Michigan Department of Corrections helps out in the community as well by going to the block clubs and seeing where those who had community service work could come and do that work and write it off for just giving back to the neighborhoods. And so Block Club United was created because I figured where we needed a name, and I wanted to do something bigger than just working with the guys that had community service. So what I did was say, well, we'll come to your neighborhood, we'll clean it up, we'll bring a bounce house, and we'll bring a DJ, because we know people will come out for music.
That's right. And bounce house, the children gonna drag the mothers like the ice cream truck.
The vision was to be able to pass out flyers 4 or 5 days in advance to the cleanup, and to bring those who wasn't involved in cleanup before. We can make sure or hope that people will be more interested now that we made the cleanup fun, music, and the things that they were probably accustomed to as kids growing up, cleaning up in the house and music on Saturdays. So what happened was that was the result. We had Judge Mathis had chimed in with us and said that he's in and he's willing to work with us with the Block Club United.
Right.
We got GFL, which is our waste company, and Advanced Waste.
Okay.
Said they were willing to work with us, and a host of other companies, some companies that came from Canada, and they did some work with us on one of the cleanups. And so there's a lot of people that were willing to work with us now with the Block Club United. Block Club United is a program up under Icon 10.
Now, how do we get our block? Everybody, what is it, a list of blocks, or do you guys choose the block, or
well,
how does this work?
What I want everybody to do is to contact me, Mr. Harris, Dwight. You can go to icon10.org on my website and leave your information there, or you can call me at 517-220-3004.
One more time.
It's 517-220-3004.
Now, I want to ask Mr. Michael something. Mr. Bailey?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bailey, so how long you been home, Max?
About 2 months.
Okay, as things have changed, eh?
Yeah.
But you
basically.
But you can do it, work on it.
About that.
You into the mobile phones and all that stuff now?
Yeah.
You
the
good?
only thing that was a problem from was the technology, just the phones and stuff. Everything else,
it
was like I ain't left.
Dig that. The people, the game definitely ain't changed.
No,
we'll share that with you.
But it's just very few people that live by the rules, though.
Oh, my Lord.
Seems like it ain't no rules no more. There's laws to how this thing go out here.
And levels.
And levels and all that.
And folks act like they don't know about it.
People know what I'm talking about. We ain't gotta,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but,
I know it's not always the easiest thing, getting back into society. We welcome you back.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Icon 10 has been there to help and support you. Are you looking for any work or anything, or you guys set him up, Mr. Harris?
Yes, and so he's looking for work.
Is there something he's skilled in or want to do, or what? I'm sorry?
Well, I cut hair.
You cut hair?
Yeah, I was doing hair back before I got locked up, when I used to wear the processors.
When I used to do the finger waves?
Yeah, all that,
The pump the don't.
I do that thing. That's a hustle,
It is, and it's great. Everybody got hair or not, or whatever. Something got to be done to their head or something.
Yeah, and that ain't all I do.
You're a master barber? Like, were you able to get certified or whatever, or do you have to not be?
I never got certified, but I think I'm a master barber.
Okay. Do they allow that stuff in prison? Certifications and things like that? You an opportunity to grow in a skill and things of that nature?
They don't care nothing about that in prison.
They don't care about that?
No.
And so, and that's the thing, like,
It's so overwhelming, Mr.
right.
Harris.
So the thing is, like, when people are coming home, we expect for them to be ready because society, like, you don't even know the person, but in your mind, you expect, oh, he should be ready.
Well, I know some prisoners that have mobile phones in prison.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they shouldn't.
And they shouldn't.
But they got them.
And they shouldn't.
How they even get them? But that's probably a whole nother show. We won't even worry about that.
Talk
But
about that
they
show
get
right
on social media and everything.
Yeah, and that's sad. And that's sad. They you know, and like he said, the rules have changed. And so, my whole purpose for Icon 10 is that nobody have to go through what I went through as a child. And when I think about it, it's all about prison reform because as far as back as I can remember, I remember when my daddy went to jail.
Okay.
So that was one of the biggest events ever in my life from my beginnings that I recall. I don't think I recall nothing greater than getting that news early in the morning in the bed as a kid. And so when I say prison reform, that means that's the first information that I took in as a kid that let me know that prison was something that had something to do with me when I didn't even know what prison was. I just knew my daddy was there.
Did you think it was a pattern? Because daddy went to prison and then you
Well,
said
that's
you
what
did a
they
little
say.
time?
But if a person tell you over and over again, when I was a kid going to juvenile, the first thing they'll tell me is that, among the 100 people, only 2 gonna make it. So basically, the odds was always
that was in school or something? Or just in the
this is
neighborhood?
training school, juvenile.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I do now is I don't want no child to reach juvenile. I don't want them to get the handcuffs on them first.
That's right.
Because once they get the handcuffs on them, it's this feeling, the psychological feeling.
Oh, my
that
God.
Now I was worried about it and I was scared to go. Now it's okay. See, we don't want our children to feel like it's okay because they had the cuffs on them before. Because most people, once they had the cuffs on them, everybody want to let people know that they went through it and they were strong enough to handle it.
Dwight, say that part, that beginning part one again. I need the people to hear it and see your face when you say, well, we don't want our children to know, to think that it's okay.
It's okay
to
put
again.
the cuffs on because it's like a trend. Like once you got the cuffs on, that means that you tough. But what people don't realize is like, I'm not into scared straight. Like scared straight, it's just, it's a gimmick. It's something to make people think, oh, they're gonna scare somebody to go to prison. Well, the truth of the matter is, people know the decisions they make before they go, and they choose to make them because they feel like they can handle the consequences, even though they're thinking they're gonna get away with it. So the thing is that what we're trying to do with our youth is that it's not to allow them to have the time to even think about it.
All right.
Now, okay, yeah, a lot of that time must be spent at home with their parents. Well, if the parents are not doing it, then who's supposed to do it?
I know that's right.
And so what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that our children get the proper information. For what we're doing now with our Yale group is we're going to start a group at the Mathis Center.
And tell us
soon.
what the Yale mean again, because we rounded down to the last 10 minutes.
Youth, equality, learning to live. And so what we're doing with that group, we have those children that were responsible for throwing the scooters in the water downtown. And what we did was restorative justice with those youth. And those youth are prospering now. They're doing good. And they love the fact that they have some men in their life that care about them. And I take my time out to go get them and spend time all the way to 8 to 9 o'clock at night because I feel like it's just
right.
time
That's
that our babies need. They don't need no shackles. They don't need to get no whiff for going to jail.
That's right.
Like everybody say, they need to go in there just to see. Nobody need to go in jail just to see how it feel.
That's right.
Because you
I
may
know
not be
that's
the
right.
same. And it don't take nothing but 5 minutes to really change your life of being locked up in prison.
Right. I like, your genuineness, your realness about the situation, because what I get at it is that you ain't playing with them.
Yeah, and then
You're
the
not
thing
playing.
is with the kids, so we're doing that. And the other program is Let's Get It Fitness. Let's Get It Fitness is about fitness, it's about health. It's called the Flex program. I used to be a fitness trainer.
Okay.
So a lot of people say, yeah, I wear many hats.
All right. Hey,
So
I know
was
about the
a fitness
hats.
trainer years and years ago. I used to train the girls basketball teams, AAU.
Okay.
Top
Okay.
10. I love the training, and I condition them to be beasts
That's
on the
right.
court when they come up against other girls that's playing
Right.
basketball across the country. So I kind of fell off with that. Then I was doing some training on the riverfront. So we're going to start doing some training, and we're going to target that training and exercise to our community. From Icon 10 was Let's Get It Fitness. You
Okay.
can follow us, and
Yes.
most of it's going to be free.
Okay.
So
now,
we
where
won't-
can they follow you? Because I saw
You
Let's
can
Get It
find us
Fitness
at-
Facebook.
Oh,
Didn't
you can go on Facebook and find Let's Get It Fitness page. It's a page, but you can also follow it on icon10.org.
Dig it. So, how can we donate? What if we want to donate?
So you can donate by going to icon10.org, and then and that's the only process we have now. Is you go on there, you can push the donate button, and you can make the donation there. And if you have a
Okay.
problem with that, just let us know, and you can contact me at 517-220-3004.
Listen, I want to know. I need to ask Mr. Bailey, this. Mr. Bailey, are you done? Are you still got to do probation and all that? 50 years.
I got to do.
They didn't just let you go.
No, they should have. It would
Sure.
seem like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, 50 years. That ain't the you didn't max.
No, you can't. I had a life sentence. You can't max off no life.
I heard that.
Yeah.
So they waited 50 years to give you
Yeah,
parole.
Right. Exactly.
Okay,
And
but you're
so-
still here.
And so, like with Mike,
Still here.
that's just the reacclimating process. And what we do is we do case management services.
Okay.
And so when guy come home, we just keep a file on him, and we make sure that he continues to make progress.
Like
where-
reporting and,
Yeah.
and dropping
Yeah.
clean or whatever, things of that nature.
And so we
Looking
let,
for work.
Yeah, we let everybody we don't deal with that part because they're men. They already dealing with a restriction already with their agent.
Okay.
But what we basically dealing with, we want them to stay clean,
Right, right.
and we want to stay positive,
Right.
stay criminal free, and learn to make a life for themselves.
Now,
once
how
they
can
came
they
home
do
for
that?
society.
How is there any direction to help learn to make it? I know you said there's certain organizations and plus Icon 10.
Right.
But is there well, we're doing this show today, and hopefully we can reach out to somebody that's got their barber shop or something of that nature. Reach out to
Yeah,
Mr.
reach
Bailey.
out.
Mr. Bailey, how can we reach you? Through Icon 10 or
Through-
what?
You can
You
reach
have
me.
a Facebook? What?
No, I have a Facebook. You can reach me through Icon 10.
Be still. Go ahead.
You know,
Iconcan.org.
Yeah, .org.
Is a phone number or something on there also?
Yeah, you can reach him there through our Reacclimating Returning Citizens program.
Okay.
And just leave a message, and with anything that you want to do or help Mr. Bailey, you can reach out, and then you can reach me at a number, and then we can exchange numbers with Mr. Bailey as well.
Okay. Also, how many other people are we working with? Can I ask that? In the organization with Icon 10, are there
Icon
other?
10.
How many return citizens is that?
So we started with 10.
Okay.
And like we say, one of the brothers had passed.
sorry.
He's only home 6 days. 60 days, and he had an aneurysm. And so we have a lot of other people that want to do some work, that be doing work with us, like on the side. We haven't really like structured it and put it like in the building because basically we everywhere. We like mobile. We doing a lot of engaging, and we doing a lot of creating. And so we're in the process of getting a place in order that people can access us, like walk to
Let
our
me put
building.
this video on. I'm not trying to cut you off. I didn't have this video. I thought I had it.
Anybody can go to prison for a long time. That's 50 some years sitting here, me and her, that we spent in prison, but we could have did something else. Well, I want y'all to enjoy the show. I want to thank Carol Dorsey for allowing us to come here. I want to thank y'all principal. This is the second year. I want to thank the kids last year for being good. Listen. Don't jump out y'all chair because y'all see somebody go crazy because y'all principal don't like that. Now, y'all can have fun, but don't go crazy. But we want y'all to be lit, okay? So, I'm finna get this mic back and say, oh my God, and leave it down. I want y'all to enjoy the show. Don't be sitting there like lumps on a log in y'all chair. I want y'all to have fun and enjoy to keep the school safe, all right? Peace, y'all.
I'm back. We back. I was trying to get some more stuff on.
And the thing about that was, what's so like different about that story is that I dropped out, kicked out in the 7th grade, so I wasn't able to experience high school at all. I spent high school basically in prison school,
Okay.
teaching myself, you know. And so people say, well, what do you mean teach yourself? Well, I didn't know how to read, not comprehensively.
Okay.
But I learned how to read comprehensively when I got me a dictionary and tried to understand every word.
Right.
Because everybody used to talk about the things that they seen on TV,
Right.
but I couldn't because I never understood what they were saying.
Really?
No, that's true.
And it's okay to admit that.
It's true.
You probably wouldn't then.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can, because you were, what, teenage?
Yeah, I was a teenager.
So how I can't understand how it got to that, because you was probably skipping school or whatever at the time.
Yeah.
That's how you got that far as teenage and not be able to do the comprehension thing.
Bad, I guess, when I look at it now. It's like,
But now you're smart as a whip.
I try
Reading
to
the book,
be.
reading everything, picking it up.
Well, I could read 2 books at one time. I never thought I could do it. I didn't even think my mind slowed
Come
down.
on now.
So people might know me like they gonna think, oh, I read though. I read a lot. I can read kind of good.
Yeah,
And I can read all kind of things. I can read medical dictionary. I can read a lot of stuff.
Come on
I
now.
can read law. And so my vision is to try to make things better for guys that's coming home from prison. I want to make things better for the children of people that's incarcerated. I want to make sure the families of people that's incarcerated is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at that, that entails everybody. That entails a whole community.
I got Cheryl Underwood coming up next. This is what I need. Mike,
Hey.
talk to me. Talk to some people. Talk to some young people. Say, look in that camera. Tell them something for me. Tell them something. Give them some word. Tell them something.
Well, to the young people,
They be real. Keep it clean. Just be real. Genuine.
real way, okay. I just want the young people to know, man, you ain't got to be with the in crowd,
Yep, that's right.
you know. See, the in crowd is the mass of people. See, the mass don't lead, they led,
That's right.
you know.
Okay.
They led. So do your own individual thing. You know when you doing something wrong because you can feel it. Just like you can feel when you're doing something good.
That's right.
Right.
It's a spiritual thing. You might not be aware of what you're using
Right.
right now, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be aware later on down the road.
And it's
See,
going to come out.
And it's going to come out because the power's in the knowing,
That's right.
you know, when you know what you're using. So I know most of the younger crowd in the community suffer from peer pressure. They just want the fit somewhere,
Yeah.
you know.
All right. That's
Yeah,
good. I appreciate that. And we can contact you through, Icon 10. Mr. Harris,
Yes.
tell the young people something. Tell them something.
I'm
Tell them
telling
something.
young people.
Give
so
us a message.
We gotta.
Let's take it home.
Innocent Integrity Bureau. We have a symposium October 5th, which is Saturday at the Judge Mathis Center, and it's about knowing your rights. We have Judge Kenneth King. We got Captain Kyra Hope. We got Pastor Barry Randolph. We got some exonerees speaking. Attorney Gabby Silverman may be there. So we want people to come out to the Mathis Center at 2 o'clock. Try to come early. There's limited seating. So we could talk about your rights. The community need to know about their rights.
And that's real.
And what their rights are.
Right.
Now that's real for real. For real. InnocentMaintain.org, family. InnocentMaintain.org. Is that right?
Innocent Maintain
I'm
is an
sorry.
organization
I'm
that
sorry.
we created. That is our baby.
That's y'all baby too, but we
That's
talking
our
about
baby.
Icon10.org
But Icon 10
today.
basically is the umbrella around
I got
a lot
both
of
of
the
them.
programming, and Icon 10 is like I am the founder, and as well as the president of Innocent Maintain, and we deal with wrongful convictions around the country. And
Yes,
we gonna
you do.
wherever we can meet you at, we gonna help you. We looking for funding for Innocent Maintain.
Also.
And we are also opening up Zonery House right here in Highland Park
Really? Oh yeah.
on Longwood.
Yep, I
On
seen it. It's
Longwood.
nice.
So we're gonna we're gonna open that up. We're gonna have a ceremony. We're gonna try to have the mayor, the chief. We're gonna have everybody come out to celebrate that some exonerees that we have somewhere for exonerees to go. We don't have to worry about those barriers, and that we're going to continue to try to have more houses for exonerees or people that's in need that's coming from being incarcerated.
I'm sorry. So Icon 10, though, are we putting any housing together with that as well?
Icon 10 is going to create a house, wrongful conviction house, an exoneree house up on the Innocent Integrity Bureau. Innocent Integrity Bureau is a parent to Icon 10, Innocent Maintain.
Right.
And so we work together to bring about, in the Innocent Bureau, basically what we're dealing with is just media coverage where people can know about all the facets of what people go through with wrongful conviction, what the mothers go through, what the girlfriends go through,
right,
how they lose their houses and put all their money up trying to get their children out for something somebody did wrong to another person.
Right.
And we're still dealing with the accountability of those who are responsible for these people going to prison. And big shout outs for Jimmy Gardner, big shout outs to Daryl Burden and all the Innocent Project, big shout outs to the Innocent Networking Conference is coming up March 27th and 28th in Chicago. Make sure everybody there and come in support of wrongful conviction around the country.
I agree.
Icon 10.
Icon 10, and I agree. And whatever Icon 10 is doing, and even Innocent Maintain, yet I know you're here today representing Icon 10, icon10.org. Donations can be put in at icon10.org as well, right?
That's right.
So whatever you guys are doing, make sure let me know. Shoot me a text. Shoot me hey Renee, not the day of. I need to know ahead of time. So I need a little bit in advance. Mr. Michael Bailey, I want to thank you for sitting in with us today. Icon 10, I want to thank you for even bringing Mr. Bailey in and coming, Mr. Dwight Harris. You got a lot to share and a lot to grow with the people already. And make sure you bring yourself back here.
Yes, we will. And thanks, Renee.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for supporting, Renee.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I got
and thanks R.J. Watkins and
Mr.
thanks
Henry
R.J.
Tyler.
Mr. Henry Tyler and R.J. Watkins Jr.
Yeah, we got your backs. Well, of course, we run Detroit radio. Right?
We run Detroit.
But we on VIE today. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm that way. You know, I don't mean harm ever. Yeah. It's all good in the hood. Cheryl Underwood Radio is coming up next. You guys, if you got any more questions, please feel free to follow Mr. Dwight Harris with Icon 10.
Facebook, Icon 10, Instagram, Icon 10, Twitter as well. And
Let's Get Fitness. You're going to get them girls. They're going to be wanting to do...
let's get it.
They're going to be ready to do basketball. And, because the men are the best ones. Well, I won't say that. But you guys are pretty good when it's time to...
the girls workhorses, though.
Yeah,
and they're easy to train because they love it. They really love it. They love it. I ain't saying they love it more than men. I'm saying one love more than the other, but they both play, and they play hard.
Yeah, and you're right. My daughter played for basketball. She played for Northwestern High School. Their coach used to put them up against the boys.
And one of the things I want to tell you, like, you see me, when I'm doing like this is something I said when I was a kid in prison, that if I ever make it, I'm always throw the fit, because I always like the fines. And this means that it's good. Everything good in the hood.
That's what's up. Thank you for coming. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time, okay? Make sure you come on through. All right, we're out of here, y'all. Peace.
IE 107.3 FM Charlotte.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit. You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
FM 88.1 WHPR, Highland Park. WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
It's that time, y'all. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. It's straight talk with Valerie. It's straight talk with Valerie.
Good evening, Detroit. Thank you for tuning in to 88.1 FM, Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie. What's going on tonight? We are so happy to have this very candid conversation with you this evening. The topic of this show is called, Do All Lives Matter? Asking for an exoneree who's been in a cage. We have two gentlemen in the studio with us this evening. One did 34 years as an innocent man for a crime that he did not commit. The other gentleman had a charge put on him for criminal sexual conduct where he couldn't even be around his own kids. Detroit, I want to, and surrounding areas, I want to introduce you to Action Terrell and Mr. Daryl Seegers. How are you gentlemen doing?
Oh, I'm doing
wonderful. I'm doing wonderful.
Good. I want to thank you so much for coming into the studio and telling your story this evening. I want to dispel a lot of myths about the wrongfully convicted. I want to dispel a lot of myths about exoneration and a few other things. So we're going to start out with Mr. Terrell.
Yes, ma'am.
You were sharing a little bit with me about your story. So can you tell the audience a little bit about your story?
Most definitely. I want to first and foremost say thank you for giving me this platform to be able to speak. My story starts off like this. In 2013, I was convicted of criminal sexual conduct, in which I was a high school football coach. I was working in a lunchroom one day, and a kid hit me with a cracker. When the kid hit me with a cracker, I went straight directly to the kid. As I get to the kid, he jumps up. He says, "I'm sorry, Coach Action." He starts, wilding out. And I told him, I said, no problem. I walk away. A few hours later, I get a call to the office. I get arrested. They said I sexually abused a young lady. Now, I'm baffled. Once they arrest me, they put me in jail, handcuff me. They wouldn't let me use the restroom. I used the restroom on myself. Oh. I was in prison for 72 hours before anyone did anything. The detective at the time didn't do his job. They allowed him to not be held accountable for not going to get the tape. There was a tape involved and was seeing the whole incident. One of the security guards at the time went and seen the tape, and she testified and said she didn't see any wrongdoing on the tape whatsoever. And I was still convicted of criminal sexual conduct to the 4th degree. I wasn't in prison, but I was put on the sex offenders list for 25 years. I had to take sex offender classes in which people were in there that were real rapists, that were real sexual offenders. And it ruined me, and I was embarrassed to even talk about this. I was embarrassed to go around without people pointing the finger because they didn't know. Then I instantly got the notion and the strength to come up and tell my side of the story and stand up for people who's going through what I've been through. People who don't have a voice, I want to be that voice for them because I know how scary it can be. So that's what happened.
Wow. And as a result of that, you weren't even allowed to be around your own children, correct?
That's correct. I have a son that's autistic, and at the time he was 6. I couldn't be around him. I have a daughter who has cerebral palsy, and I couldn't be around her. I was building and repairing computers. I had taught people. I had a store in which I opened, in which people can come in and build their own computers. They told me I couldn't even do that. I couldn't use computers. I lost jobs. I lost everything behind this.
Wow. Let's move on to Mr. Daryl Seegers. You did 34 years, so you were incarcerated, and you did 34 years. Tell us about your conviction and what happened to you.
In 1984, first, before I begin, let me thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for being the voice that you are about wrongful convictions and injustice and in criminal reform. In 1984, I was 20 years old. I was arrested, police asked to talk to me, and I initially didn't want to talk to them. We were at a home where a party occurred with my son and daughter's mother. 3 gentlemen came in. There were 3 of us already there. A scuffle began, and the mother of the home, Christine, the mother of my 3 children, came out and asked these 3 gentlemen to leave. They refused. Subsequently, they left, and one of the gentlemen that was there with us left also in the midst of the scuffle, saying, "I got something for y'all last, I'll be back." As they get halfway down the street, we hear shots. I'm still in the house. We hear shots down the road. But I don't know, in the hood, shots are not uncommon. So I really didn't think anything of it. So subsequently, I leave. When I leave, I get home. Police tell me they want to talk to me, and I refuse, because every time any of my older brothers and family members had encounters with the police, it was not a good outcome. And so I didn't want to talk to them at all. And so that's what drew a red flag for me. They began to try to pursue me. So they kept saying they wanted to talk to me. My father said, "Listen, boy, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Go down and talk to them," which is typically what so-called black mothers and fathers do, because we have a certain trust in the police. At least at one time we did. And so I went down. They came out. I agreed to talk to them. They immediately arrest me. Even though they said they just want to talk, they immediately arrest me. They take me to jail. They arrest me for first-degree murder. And it's just unbelievable. I don't believe this. And I keep telling these people, y'all got the wrong guy, didn't do this. So they take me up on they interrogate me for a couple of hours. And then at one point, they played the good cop, bad cop. So they couldn't get any information out of me. They take me up on the 9th floor, and it's cold. It's in February, and one of the windows is cracked or broken. And I tell him, I say, "Hey, man, it's cold in here." He just shuts the door. Ain't nothing in this room but a wooden bench, a toilet, and a sink. And so I'm thinking they're just going to leave me here for a little while, come back and get me, and then try some more of this interrogation. Well, they don't. They leave me there all night. So by the time I get down the next morning, I'm really, really cold. I mean, I'm frozen, and I done shivered all night. So they let me warm up for a little while, and we go through this process again. The good cop, bad cop, they hollering and screaming, and they trying to get me to sign a statement. "We know you did it." Keep repeating to me that we know you did this, and they screaming. And I'm terrified, because these are the people that's supposed to be protecting us. And who are you going to call when the very people who are supposed to be protecting you, the police, are doing the terrorizing? So anyway, we go through this, and it's a lot more to the story, but we go to trial. They give me a state lawyer. He was underpaid, overworked, didn't have the resources, and then they had another police officer come up there and just lie about some phony ballistics. He came up there and said that he found a bullet in my home that matched the bullet was taken from the deceased body, and that's what ultimately led to my conviction, notwithstanding that the witnesses that they promised deals, that they didn't reveal, that these guys have been convicted of perjury, theft, bank robbery, safe cracking, and all other. They never revealed this stuff to the jury, and so they ultimately convicted me. And so I go to prison. And the judge, I never forget, the judge said, "I'm sentencing you to prison for the rest of your natural life."
Wow. And I'm sure at that moment, it felt like somebody pulled your lungs, your heart, and everything just out of your body.
It was the most devastating moment of my life. I mean, nothing in life could have prepared me for that. Nothing.
Wow. I'm speechless, because, and that's very rare, especially being a talk show host. But to sit here and I read a little bit about your story, but to hear you tell the story and follow along, and knowing that I have a family member right now that's incarcerated on a wrongful conviction that also has cancer and a few other illnesses that they don't even care about. They won't even, it's a federal case that he could be in a medical facility so he can get proper treatment. They don't even care if he dies or not, period. So I can't even imagine, once you were convicted and then incarcerated, some of the things that you've seen and some of the things that you've gone through within that 34-year time frame. And I also can't even imagine having your own business and not even being able to not just only see your children, Mr. Terrell, but you can't even provide for your children anymore.
At all. At all. It's been a horrific experience, but throughout it all, I've gained the courage to be able to stand up for what was right. You know, I feel like David going against Goliath. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at with it now. I also call it the Harriet Tubman experience, because going through what Harriet Tubman went through, I couldn't even imagine. Mm-hmm. But going through what I'm going through, I still can't imagine no one else going through it, or going through what all the exonerees been through. It is, I want to say, it just has to stop. Mm-hmm. We have to stand up.
Mm-hmm. And that is a perfect segue into our next segment. So we're going to go to break, and we're going to listen to a little bit of a song called As a Black Man by my cousin Millard Thomas Jr. off of his CD, What's Your Request, that can be downloaded off of iTunes. And when we come back, we're going to hear a little bit from our producer, who I get to come from behind the scenes sometimes and engage in conversation, Trisha Duckworth, and we're going to talk about this needs to stop, and prosecutorial misconduct, and all of that. So let's hear a little bit of As a Black Man by Millard Thomas Jr., and we'll be back.
I'm just trying to do the best that I can as a strong black man. Yeah. Here I stand as a strong black man, having done all I can to please my fellow man. I don't understand why that knife is in your hand. After doing all I can as a strong black man, I'm gonna take my stand as a black man. I will do the best that I can as a black man. I stand on my own as a black man. I'm gonna sing my song. Oh, this is me. So hear my plea. I'm a young black man, down on my knees. I say this world is wrong, and we don't have too long. I'm gonna take this stand as a strong black man. I feel the rain falling down on me. If you could see what's on my mind, oh, you will see. Everyone would be more kind. Everyone would be happy. I'm gonna keep on my goal Sometimes I gotta move. Gotta press my way through. Gotta press my way through. No, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no.
You were listening to As a Black Man by Millard Thomas Jr., and he started talking about some of the struggles of being a black man in America. You can download that CD called What's Your Request off of iTunes. So we talked a little bit about Mr. Seegers and Mr. Terrell's cases. But now let's talk about what even led to the wrongful conviction. So I'm going to let you hear a little bit from Trisha Duckworth, who is also the executive director of Survivor Speaks, who is doing a lot of work, and she heads up the Michigan Wrongful Conviction Coalition. So let's talk about some of that misconduct. Trisha, you can take the mic from here.
You know, we were talking earlier, when it comes to misconduct, it all starts somewhere, right? It starts with the cops. Because if you don't have these bogus, rogue cops making up bogus charges against people, then you wouldn't even wind up in the court system. So I believe that's where it starts at. So we were thinking, oh, we need to do something about prosecutorial misconduct, which we do. But we also need to do something about these police officers that are drumming up these charges on people that don't even exist. It's all a lie. And Mr. Seegers, because I do know in your case, there was a cop that was responsible for most of what happened to you. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is. He's the chief detective. He was the chief detective in this case. And he was going and picking the witnesses up, going to their home, bringing them to court, dropping them off. He even issued a writ of habeas corpus for one of the witnesses and had him writted to his custody as opposed to the jail itself. Why would he come to you? Why would he be writted to your custody and he's scheduled to testify in a couple of days? Why would he be? This is the type of stuff that goes on. This is the type of stuff that went on in my case. They had one of the witnesses, and this is going on all across the country. You know, wrongful conviction is somewhat people describe as the new civil rights, if you will. And though there's some slight comparison, but nothing compared to what I found, African Americans went through during the 400 years of slavery, and a lot is still going on today.
Yeah.
But, you know, one of these guys, he portrayed himself as an expert of forensics. And, you know, all across the country, you got these phony experts that's getting up there saying that this matched this and this matched, and some of them are not even qualified to give testimony. They're not even experts. Anyway, this guy, he says that he was in the Detroit crime lab for 6 years and that he needed to work at least 2 years to become qualified to give testimony. We found out that this guy hadn't even been in the crime lab for 1 year.
Oh, no.
And so he had been in there for he had been in there 364 days.
Wow.
And and he got up there and lied. And it was just, he got up there and said, well, one bullet had 4 lands and grooves, another one had 12, and he said they matched. That is scientifically impossible.
Wow.
And everybody went for this. And this is how they ultimately convicted me. And as you know, they closed down the Detroit crime lab in 2008 because of some of the atrocious behavior and some of the test results that they were coming up with that were just plain false.
Wow. So we talked about prosecutor misconduct, but it's just about being accountable, these individuals being accountable. Today we heard, and I won't say from who, but today we heard that they are actually trying to work on something about the forensic testing and to hold individuals accountable for that. Like, how in the world can you say something is a match and you know that it is not?
Right.
Yeah, right. Pretty much, especially with Action's case. Like, how do you accuse someone of criminal sexual conduct? You don't have any semen, you don't have like any forensic evidence to even prove it, and throwing out evidence, like not reviewing tapes and all of that stuff. What is that about?
The whole thing with the judicial system is there's no accountability. if we remember when we went to school, you had the legislator who had to check on the executive branch. You had the executive branch who had to check on the judicial branch, and the judicial branch checked on. Now, neither one of those guys are checking on nothing. You know, remember, they're not even teaching that in school anymore. You know, the checks and the balances. And then, you know, also during my case, for my appeal, my lawyer, court appointed, gets sick. From the time to follow a regular appeal to the time when they deny appeal, you have 56 days to take it to the Michigan Supreme Court. My lawyer tells me she gets sick. She gets my appeal February 24th. I don't hear from her until April 13th, which significantly cut down my time to file an appeal with the Supreme Court, which gave me approximately 3 days.
Oh, my goodness.
I have all this in writing. I have a note from her, a letter from her stating this, you know, that she was sorry about the case and she's gotten sick, because I was calling her quite often to try to find out. But once again, the accountability, you know.
And none of that was taken into consideration that she was sick. It seemed like they could have given some type of leniency or whatever to extend the amount of time that you had if you clearly have evidence, but they don't care.
They don't care.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
They're not there for justice. They're there for, it seems like, monetary value. What does the Supreme Court really do? You know, what cases are they looking at? If they're not looking at the cases that's coming from the smaller courts and they're denying it, I don't know the exact number. What's the exact number that they deny people? It is extremely high compared to how many they accept and overturn.
Out of 100 cases, maybe one gets granted that goes through our court system. The system is not designed to reverse convictions. It is easier to deny a case because if I deny you, then you just have to go to the next step. If I grant you, I have to call all these old witnesses back. I have to bring all this old evidence back. I have to redo another trial. I have to push back my docket. So it's just easier to deny than it is to grant. And then you have to consider what are the courts looking for. But to a point you made, there has to be some accountability, and a lot of it starts with the police.
Yeah.
And see, we have some good police officers, some dedicated police officers, but then we have a segment of police officers who went through and seen a lot of bad stuff in their time, and now they just feel like they are above the law. I've seen them, you know, beat people, and we've seen this is no new phenomenon. Look at the Trayvon Martin situation. So, and there's no account. They don't get all they get is sued. They don't go to prison. In almost every case where you've seen, they had guys where police officers shot guys in the back, and if it wasn't for a video camera, somebody taking their phone and videoing it, what would have happened? And so
And then they still don't get locked up.
it has to be
They
better
just
training.
lose their job. They,
It has to be
you
more
know,
training,
and they still can go get other
And then
jobs
get a job
and
somewhere else. They shouldn't even be able to practice law enforcement anymore and get jail time.
Yeah, I've seen a police officer lose a job in one jurisdiction and go right to another jurisdiction. Who's doing the background check on them? But yet, when you got a wrongful conviction on you or you've been exonerated, they giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
And you're cleared of these things.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? And this guy is taking a life.
Well, that's the issue. There is, because there's no accountability, there's no deterrent, right? There's no reason for them to think that if they do something wrong that they'll get in trouble for it. So, of course, and with prosecutors, they need that conviction rate. So it's all driven by greed. It's selfish, and it needs to be put to a stop. And that's one of the biggest things that we want to work on with the task force, is to bring that accountability piece in. The thing is that, like the brother said, they don't teach these things in school anymore. You don't hear a lot about them because they want to silence the voice of the people. If we don't know what to do, right, then we can't fight. But that's what has to happen. The people have to rise up, and we all have to come together and fight. Legislators, regular lay people, exonerees. And what I want to really drive home on is that just because you're not wrongly incarcerated, just because you don't have a family member that's wrongly incarcerated, does not mean that it cannot one day happen to you. But even a step further, these are your tax dollars being wasted because they spent all of this money to do this court case on the wrong person while the right person is out there somewhere. So once they let this person go, now they got to go back and spend money again to try the right person. So it's just so inefficient, where if we do what we're supposed to do from the jump street, it will make things so much easier. The state would have so much more money than what they have right now. So it's just, it has to stop.
And one of the most valuable tools that we have is the power of the vote.
Yes.
That's one of the most equalizing forces that we have, the power of the vote. And so when you start voting, a lot of these judgeships, a lot of these prosecutorial races, they're decided by less than 100 to 200 votes in some of these local communities. So people have to get out and vote. You have to vote your conscience. You just can't sit at home and complain about problems. You got to be about solutions. That's what this has to be about. You got to look for solutions, get off your duff, get out and vote, get out and march, do whatever you have to do to stop this problem. Because it's not, and unless we stand up, unless we do something, hold people accountable, it's going to continue.
Yeah.
Police officers can do stuff with impunity. They can go crack your head, slap you, throw you on the ground, and then pull you out your car. That's not what our society. That's not what citizenry should be about. Y'all talk about what we teach in school. They used to teach civics in school. They don't teach civics anymore. Civics is a social science to deal with the rights and duties of a people. And so you need to know about the Constitution. People don't teach about the Constitution. What's your human? I wrote a book recently. When I went through the process, I had 16 lawyers over my period of incarceration. And lawyers play a role in this as well. Because if lawyers were to do, and I'm not saying all lawyers out there, because they got some really, really good lawyers out there. I mean, as a matter of fact, I got one right now. But it took me 34 years to find him. And I had 16. Some of them were good, some of them weren't. But the point is, lawyers have to take a little bit more responsibility as well. And this is why I wrote it. And they have lawyers that are cheating families, taking thousands of dollars from families, because they know they're desperate. And see, families don't know how to deal with lawyers. I wrote a book for that very reason, to teach you what you need to know when you're hiring a lawyer and what you need to know when you're filing an appeal. As a matter of fact, the name of the book is What You Need to Know Before Filing an Appeal and What You Need to Know Before Hiring a Lawyer. And this book can be reached on Amazon. I recommend that all families have it. It's 58 pages. I recommend that all families get it because it teaches you some of the basic fundamental things you need to know when you're dealing with a lawyer or when you're about to file an appeal. And I've been through this process, so I have a unique perspective to be able to show people what it is they need to know when they're filing these appeals or when they're seeking to hire lawyers. Because a lot of times when you're hiring a lawyer, that means you're in trouble. And at some point, listen, and not even that, but see, at some point in your life, all of us going to come in contact with a lawyer at some level, whether it's through real estate, whether it's through divorce, whether it's through product liability, car crash, insurance, or whatever. And you need to know how to deal with lawyers. And this book tells you how to deal with them.
I appreciate that. And when you were talking about, our vote is our voice, but one thing I would like to see improve is the jury pool. How can you have a jury of your peers if our peers dodging the jury pool process? You can't have a jury of your peers if we don't show up. And I feel like, the amount of pay that's allocated through the court system for jury duty should be increased. That's primarily why a lot of people, and I'll admit, before I got involved with this type of process, I wanted to dodge it too. I wasn't getting paid from my job, so I'm gonna come down there and get a couple of dollars a day. I still have my bills. I still have all of these things going on with me personally, and who's to say how long I'm going to be down here, right? So I'm losing income and everything coming down here. At that time, very young, early 20s, didn't realize someone's life or livelihood would be on the line. So I feel like the pay for jury duty needs to be increased. It needs to be at least what you're getting anywhere if you're working somewhere. It should be comparable pay. And I believe more